Thanks very much. Thanks very much, Adam. Good afternoon, everybody. Well, it must be afternoon because that just tells me it's afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. My job is to try to help lift things for the afternoon. So I'm wonderfully pleased to be at ASIL again. We were just talking. It's the 6th time I've keynoted ASIL. And so when I'm not, for those of you who aren't familiar with me and my background, when I'm not working in schools, which I work in 20 countries, I think it's 13 books now I've written. When I'm not doing that, home for me is Japan. The south of Japan, where I train and study in the Zen temples of Kamakura, hence the unusual garb. But I don't have to think about what I wear every day. It's very straightforward for me. And this is about authentic mindfulness training. It's the real deal. And it's something that we get completely wrong, actually, in Western culture. We don't understand. We've extracted little bits that are meaningful for us, but we haven't really taken the hard work. And it creeps through in everything I do. So undoubtedly, there'll be a little bit of that comes through today in the conversation. Mindfulness in its practice and the structure that happens in Zen is not just about the sitting meditation. It's about everything you do. It's about when you're gardening. It's about when you're working with schools. It's about when you're standing in front of children. It's incredibly hard work, actually. It's not about relaxation. It's completely the opposite. It is being fully full on all the time, and it's hard work. So I stand out in Japan, as you can imagine, and I certainly stand. Actually, every once in a while, I walk by a mirror and I go, "You are so white," because all I see is Japanese people all day, and it's very, very comfortable for me. I'm very accepted. But one thing that I've come to understand is that our most significant differences are not biological; they're cultural. And they're really the gateway to harmony, to understanding each other. So I want to share with you some Japanese concepts just to, you want to relax a little bit, right? Before we, yes? No, you want the hard content? Let me share with you some Japanese concepts that are kind of fun. This is a great one, kawaii. So, someone has made curry rice for the kids and, of course, taken the time to turn the rice into little teddy bear shapes. Now, kawaii means cute, and it is a big part of Japanese culture. Everything is kawaii. I have a dog about this big that I carry in a little purse, right? So when I'm walking around with that dog, I can tell you that I make a lot of friends. Kawaii, everyone wants to meet the dog. It's a big part of Japanese culture. This is another part of Japanese culture, ganbatte, which is usually said, ganbatte! And it's about ultimate effort, maximum effort in everything you do. It means do your best, it means good luck, it means persevere, it means you can do it, means all these things. We say this to the kids in the morning when they're off to school. We say this when somebody has to have a tough conversation. It's absolute part of Japanese culture, and it's about doing it together. Here's another one that's kind of fun. Shogunai, almost the complete opposite to ganbatte. Shogunai, the closest that we could come up for an interpretation of that would be, it is what it is. But that's not what it is. Shogunai really means it can't be helped, accept your fate, surrender. Accept it, not, I don't like it, but it is what it is. It's about accepting it, surrendering it to completely. So ganbatte, and when you hit the end of that, shogunai. That's kind of the feeling about it. Mono no aware, this is another big one. And people love to come and see the cherry blossoms, but this time of year is about understanding the impermanence of things, all things. Coronavirus, our lives, this conference, our careers, everything is impermanent. Everything is constantly changing. What a wonderful concept to celebrate. And the last one is difficult to explain. It's really deep in the culture. It's girito ningyo, and it means the conflict between duty and emotion. You always do what you're supposed to do as opposed to what you're feeling. It's always about duty first. And that's a very, very big part of the culture. So what is it that is culture? I think of culture as our total way of being. It's everything that a group of people thinks, says, does. It's our attitudes, it's our feelings. So we talk about creating culture. You can't create culture, it already exists. But it constantly evolves through our actions. In other words, what we think, we manifest. What we state, we create. It's really interesting from a perspective of working with transformation in schools. When we talk about, the challenges that we run into and that, people are resisting, that cultural sense of resistance is usually about fragmentation. And what I mean by fragmentation, and in the ASIL coaching program, the executive coaching program I do, I talk about this. But the principle is the first degree of separation. We have some idea what we're doing. We think we know where we're going, but it's not 100% clear to us even. So how well do we communicate that? So that brings our deputies in, which is our second degree of fragmentation, which of course means that the middle leaders are interpreting that in their own way. That's our third degree. So our fourth degree of fragmentation and what's hilarious is as leaders, we look at, what are the teachers doing? What's wrong with them? Why haven't they bought in? And we don't look in the mirror, right? Fragmentation is a big deal. So I always look to simplify, clarify, and amplify in everything we do. Simplify what it is that we're asking people to do. Only one thing, one small thing, and what does that look like? Being clear about it. And then amplifying what's working really, really well. Fragmentation is a significant issue, and it's really about actions that disintegrate unity and break down that element of culture in a school. And the opposite to that, of course, has to be something like harmony. And harmony, to me, is a peaceful agreement of ideas, feelings, and actions. Doesn't that sound nice? It's a peaceful agreement of ideas, feelings, and actions. How will we be with each other? And so that's what I want to talk to you about today is the 5 agreements. The 5 agreements, I'm going to tell you what they are, and then I'm going to go through them in a little bit of detail. The 5 agreements are what we use in the Future Focused Learning Network as the foundation to understand how we will behave and how we will work together. In other words, we establish the culture that we mutually agree on. And it's also what I use with every school that I work with. And they are, 1, to stay curious, 2, to be courageous. The third one is reframe, 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 which I'll talk about at length because it's probably the most important. Trust the process, trust each other. And the 5th one being to connect, source, and share. And so these are what we use in the network as our understandings. And you see very, very clearly how much, when teachers are working together or with other teachers around the world, kind of impact that it has. So the first one, to stay curious, is about seeing possibilities and being open to those possibilities. We so often, it's almost like a disease in the West. We state our opinion as if it's a fact, and then we believe it to be so because we've said it. There's no time. Well, there is time. The clock is moving. Time exists. No, there is no time. There's not enough of this. There's too much of that. The teachers don't, we make statements. And that creates, we don't stay open, we don't stay curious. When we ask questions instead of relying on statements to define our future, possibility is on our side. This conference is about hope. Use questions instead of statements. It's a big part of reframing. And when I get to reframing, I'll make that clear. So, this concept of being curious is really, really essential. And it's fun. I don't want to be the person that knows everything. There's no fun in that. I want to be the person that's curious. That's fun. That's what learning is. Being courageous is about trying new things. It's about having the courage to do something different, yes, but it's about the unknown. It's about the uncertainty. When you're in an environment of support and authentic learning, courage is what helps everyone to grow. So it has to be one of our foundational concepts, that we'll be courageous. And you can see the common thread here. These become questions we can ask each other. These become statements we can use to bring ourselves back on the track. You know what? Yes, but we said we'd be curious. Yes, I know it's difficult, but let's be courageous. I'll give you a little hint about courage, because it seems that have you ever noticed that it seems that some people are incredibly courageous? And then we wonder, gosh, I wish I could be courageous like that. In the process of mindfulness, when you're sitting in 4 degrees outside, wearing nothing but this for 12 hours, not moving, you get to think about some things, right? That's what mindfulness does, is the opportunity to be aware of your thoughts. And here's what I really came to think about courage. Courage is the awakening of a purpose that's beyond the limits of self-interest. When we're not concerned about our own self-interests, it doesn't take any courage. It's automatic. So remove yourself from the equation, which is That's mindfulness practice, removing yourself. And you're removing your self-interest and focusing on what it is you want to create. When you care about what the kids are doing, when that's what matters to you, when you're not concerned about your part of it, courage is automatic. That's what it means to be courageous. Now, I'm going to skip reframe and come back to it because I want to spend some time talking about and giving you some real physical examples of what that looks like. It comes to trust the process and trust each other. You know, in every community, the value is what people bring to it. And you know, having an online professional learning community where, you know, between Kathleen and I, we monitor and respond to absolutely every post and every comment that people make. It's a place where trust exists, and it's really wonderful to see. And it was wonderful to have that all up and running and have all my clients connected around the world before COVID. Boy, were we in the right place at the right time. Because the schools we work with just went, okay, lockdown. And it's like it was just an easy transition for us. And they trust each other in that format. Trusting is really, really important. How do we trust that everyone is going to be a certain way or behave a certain way or respond a certain way? By recognizing how we act and that we're responsible for that. We have to accept responsibility for our intentional and our unintentional actions. Remember I said earlier, culture includes everything that a group of people thinks, says, does, makes, systems, attitudes, beliefs. Everything we do is part of that. If we are all aware of that and present to that, it means that we can trust each other. We all know how we're going to be interacting. We all know how we're going to be behaving. We all know what it is that matters to us. These agreements seem really simple, but they're incredibly powerful. As I said before, what happens so often with these kind of documents, when you have a set of agreements or you have a culture code or school values, no one can tell you what they are because they're on the front page of the website. I always enjoy going to the front page of a school website and I think, here's a wonderful statement to make. If your school looked like your website states it is, wouldn't it be an amazing place? I hear this, we are a learner-centered place focused on the future of children, building the best, and then I go there and it's like, well, maybe a little incongruous there. It's important to have a sense of humor, right? Laugh at ourselves. We need to laugh at ourselves a little bit, But these statements become powerful because they're not in a drawer somewhere. They're what we agree to. And for a principle, they're really powerful because they're what we've agreed to collectively, which means it's not the principal saying this. It means we agreed we would do this. Let's point to that. And I'll guarantee you, within these 5 agreements, there is something that will help you build every part of your culture and that you can constantly refer to. And some people here that work with us will tell you very quickly how powerful these have been for them. Connect, sourcing, and sharing. This is really interesting. Have you noticed how generous teachers are with sharing their resources? People are like, is he kidding or is he not kidding? We tend to hold on to it, right? You'll see that, no, that's mine, right? We don't want to share it. We're happy to take, but we don't want to share so much, right? Well, I worked on this. I built this. We need that culture that says, I'm going to take something, I'm going to give something. That's how we're going to grow the profession because, to be clear, our professional practice is about improving learning for all learners. Every single one, your school, another country, another culture, doesn't matter. Improving our practice collectively. That's a big part of it. So we tell people in the network, post something. And then the other one is people are quite often they say, well, I don't want to post what I did in my class because it's not very good. And I think, well, that's the time you need to be posting so we can give you some feedback on that and help you. Right? Trust each other, trust the process. So this whole thing comes around very, very quickly for us. This concept of trusting and of sharing, it's, why is it important? I don't know. Eitzel says it's important. So just to go through this a little bit, Eitzel Professional Teaching Standards 7.4. This is pretty clear that it's about connecting and sourcing and sharing. Contribute to professional learning networks. and associations. Take your leadership role in community networks. Support the involvement of colleagues in external learning opportunities. That's why. Or, here's another one, just for fun. Engage with colleagues and improve practice. This is, it's really clear. This is what we're meant to be doing. We're meant to be working in an online community. We're meant to be sharing not just what goes on in my Year 5 class or my Year 5 colleagues' class, but with other people around the world and inside of the borders as well. Just one more for fun. I mean, we could keep going, but here's just the last one. Apply professional learning and improve student learning. Wow. Again, reasons that we connect, that we source, and we share. It is our professional imperative to do so. These are the reasons why. So we've covered 4 of the 5 agreements, and I've deliberately left reframe to last because it's big, and it's juicy, and it's somewhat uncomfortable. But it is also the most powerful thing for inspiring hope and leading the future. See, the thing is, we're all leading. We're all leading the future. Every one of us. It's not like we're, I love the title of the conference, but leading into the future. You're already doing that. Question is, where are you leading? And if you're not thinking about where you're leading, you're going to go someplace other than where you might want to be. So we need to reframe, especially the conversations that have gone on over the last year or so. We're tired. We're fatigued. I get it. But it's time for us to stop that and move forward and say, it's time to get unstuck a little bit. Time to go. Time to make things happen, a little bit at a time. Reframing is the process of mindfulness. Reframing is about being completely aware, not of what you said. Amy was talking about it this morning, about that anxiety about the future and about the past and all that, about being present. But it means not just present now, it means present permanently. It's an impossibility, but that's what the practice is. When we are mindful, when we are aware of what we are thinking, what we're feeling, what we're saying in this moment, that's about being responsible with your word. And thinking, are you approaching things from a deficit or a possibilities mindset? Is your language focused on deficit or possibilities? Deficit mindset, deficit speaking is summative in nature as opposed to formative. It's that yes but as opposed to yes and. It's despair as opposed to hope. It's really final as opposed to the beginning of something. I'll give you a very tangible example of what this looks like. Deficit mindset and that deficit statement thinking that I mentioned earlier. If you're concerned, we are too tired to just take anything on until, can't be term 1 because, the school's just getting started. Can't be term 2, we got exams. Term 3, we got, we got the, we're going on camp. Term 4, no. So there's no such thing as, what if we said, and then you use this as a leader, can you reframe that? Reframe that means take that statement and turn it into a question. How can we balance well-being while taking the first footsteps forward? Acknowledging that we are tired and stressed, how can we move forward? Now we're curious. We have a question, which leads us to creating a new possibility. Well, let's all commit 1 hour a week to do the master class in the Future Focused Learning Network. Let's do that. Can we agree to do that? If we can't find an hour a week to do our core business, we got a problem. This is the process of taking a period, turning it into a question mark, which creates a new possibility. That's how you inspire hope. Let's reframe that. Turn your period into a question. To become unstuck, one only needs move. That's all we need to do. Just move. So let me share with you this from a little deeper perspective, which is coming from Zen practice. So one of the first things when you're training in a Zen monastery is to learn the Heart Sutra. And you learn it because you chant it every day. So it's the first thing you memorize. And there's a line in there that I want to share with you, which is Shiki Zokuze Ku Sokuze Shiki. There are many interpretations of what this means. But the example that I want to use, which helps you to understand how we reframe, is that phenomena, an occurrence, something happens, creates a recognition. We see it and we respond to it. And that creates a new phenomenon. So I'll give you an example. Firstly, is it okay that we have some fun? No? Okay, who wants to play a little bit? Yes? Okay, so Did you notice it's raining outside? Ah, right? Let's imagine that it's sunny. Let's imagine that it's sunny. Ah, how do you feel? Oh, little clouds are floating by. They're kind of smiling at you. You're so happy, right? You feel good. Okay, so now we're going to go to the park. And you know what often is in a park? Puppies! Who likes puppies? Okay, who doesn't like puppies? Like a whole bunch of you are like, oh, you don't like puppies. Okay, there's a few of you who don't like puppies. Most of you like puppies. I mean, they're so cute. They got so much energy, right? Oh, my goodness. How do you feel? Think about it. How are you really feeling? Like, just be aware of it. Okay, go on, puppy, get out of here. This crazy little dog. Now, you know what happens when puppies get running around and get playing? A little bit. Sometimes. Now, pay attention. Has anything changed for you? I just want to remind you that it's very sunny. So, might be an aroma. Are you feeling the same way as you were just feeling a minute ago? You're feeling something different now, right? The flies are kind of crawling on it. Actually, what's interesting is that the faces have gone from, to, ugh. You're not so happy. The fly is very happy. So, you know what happens next? Along you come with your brand new Italian loafer, right? Now, how many of you have had this experience? Right? So what do you say when this happens? How do you feel when this happens? Yes, that's exactly what you say, right? Oh. Now everything just changed for you. You went from happy to sad to disgusted to whatever, and now some of you are thinking, oh, that damn dog, right? Or that irresponsible owner. What if I told you that the owner didn't notice? Or what if the owner had 3 poop bags but ran out of them and couldn't pick up the last? Or what if, let's get dark, what if the puppy was dying of cancer, the owner was taking it for its last walk before they put it down? I'm an awful human being, aren't I? All of those are possible. Every one of them is possible, but we chose to see it a certain way. You see, we think what we see is real. That's eyesight. When the sun shines off an apple, comes back to it, and we see it in our brain, it's an apple. That's eyesight. That's not recognition. Here's what really happens. The sun shines off the apple, but what happens if you had found a worm in your apple when you were younger? Or worse, a half a worm, right? Now something is going off in your brain that is just not computing with this. Because what truly happens is that the sun comes off the apple, yes, and it bounces towards us, but it goes through a thing that we call the karmic filter. Now, karma is not like a past life thing that happened. Karma is a pattern of your heart, a way that you constantly respond and constantly do things. It's in your subconscious. And so there is the apple and there is the worm, and up it comes. And you project out on the world what you see. That's why it's so important that we reframe, because we're not right. We have created the world the way that we see it. This is recognition. That's what truly happens. So we have all kinds of opinions about how things are. And we create our own recognition, which creates a whole new phenomenon. Somebody cuts you off at work or on the way to work. And we're angry. And we go to work and we yell at our colleagues about it. And what do we create? A new phenomenon based on our recognition. Remember when I said we need to be responsible for our actions and our words? We create it. You can break that, and that's what mindfulness is. Yes, in your subconscious is the apple and the worm, but what will you see? If you want to shatter that, which is the process of mindfulness, it's about being aware in this moment. What am I thinking? Mindfulness is not about gaining enlightenment. Mindfulness is not about losing something like, I'll lose all my stress. Mindfulness is about putting our mind and our thoughts back where they belong and not letting them be in control. You see, because you can see anything you want to see. You can feel any way you want to feel. You make me so angry, No one makes you angry. You've chosen anger. It doesn't mean they weren't a dickhead, but you've chosen it. You've decided. That's your response. So what do you want to see? Because in your subconscious is unlimited possibilities. You can see the worm, you can see the apple, or you can see something bright and wonderful. What do you choose to see? How do you choose to see the world? Do you see possibility? Do you see something different? It's up to you. So, you can see the poop, or you can see the dog. By the way, that's my little puppy. Isn't he adorable? You can see the apple, or you can see the worm. You can see that angry colleague, or you can see someone who's desperately crying for help. The choice is yours. How you choose to interact with the world. That's what reframing is about. What I said earlier, I will come back to. What you think, you manifest. What you state, you create. So let's be clear and find a way to take our attention and all of the things that are going on in our brains and be quiet and align it with our intention. And from there, let's lead forward clearly. That's what the 5 agreements helps us do. Now, I mentioned earlier that, about the network. I'm giving everyone who wants it access to the network. You can have access to it in a couple of our master classes for free. So I want you to be in there, and I want you to share and connect with each other. If you go to futurefocusedlearning.net/ACEL22, it'll allow you to sign up for free and bypass the payment gateway. But if you'd like to talk about the executive coaching program that we do, or you'd like to talk with me about anything, please come and see us at the booth. And tomorrow morning, my breakfast session is going to be in detail. How have we transformed schools from these 5 agreements? How have we gone through and created agency? How have we moved schools up 4 bands in NAPLAN? How have we reduced teacher stress, specifically during lockdown and never having visited those schools? What did we do and how did we do it? If you want to know that, please come to the breakfast session. I wanted to take a time to explain it fully and really bring value to the conference. So that's everything that I have for you. I'll be at the booth. Kathleen will be there as well. You're welcome to come and speak with us. We'd love to talk with you. So thank you for your commitment to our kids. They are 15% of our population. They're 100% of our future, which makes you the most important professionals on the planet. So thank you for your kind and patient attention. Enjoy the rest of your conference.